Hey there, fight fans! Welcome back to another epic episode of the Ultimate BMF tier list. Now, before we dive into the rankings, let's address the elephant in the room. In part 1, I had some opinions that seemed to ignite a firestorm of butthurt MMA fans in the comments section below. But you know what? I'm here to take it up a notch with part 2, guaranteed to annoy you even more. So, get ready for an unapologetic exploration of the baddest motherfuckers out there. And remember, this is purely my opinion, so if your favorite fighter didn't make the list, don't fucking cry about it. Kicking off the list is none other than the one and only Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. Now, in the earlier stages of his career, fans and fighters used to refer to Charles as a quitter. However, over the past few years, he has transformed himself into one of the baddest dudes in the UFC. Charles Oliveira has proven that he can outstrike strikers and outgrapple wrestlers, showcasing his versatility inside the octagon. Defeating the likes of Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira captured the lightweight belt in a spectacular fashion, putting on one amazing performance after another. Despite his setback, losing the belt to Islam Makhachev, his recent victory, finishing Beneil Dariush in the first round, has set up a highly anticipated rematch between him and Islam later this year. Now, the big question remains, can Do Bronx come out on top this time, or will Islam prove to be too much for him again? Well, fight fans, we'll have to wait and see. But regardless of the outcome, Charles Oliveira has undoubtedly earned his spot in the S tier for his exceptional skills and remarkable performances. Next on the list, in the B tier, we have Alex Pereira. Now, let me clarify something up front. Alex is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. However, his placement in the B tier is primarily due to his limited number of fights in the organization. Nevertheless, there's a compelling reason for including him on this list. Alex Pereira holds the distinction of being the only man to ever finish Israel Adesanya in the UFC. That alone speaks volumes about his skill and power. What's even more impressive is that Pereira has eagerly accepted the challenge of making his 205 debut against Jan Blachowicz. Now, keep in mind that Yan is the only other fighter to defeat Adesanya, albeit via decision. Pereira recognizes that Yan's game plan will likely revolve around his wrestling ability, which happens to be one of Pereira's weaker areas. Despite this, he has fearlessly accepted the fight, demonstrating his confidence and determination. While his limited UFC experience holds him back from a higher tier, there's no denying the impact Alex Pereira has made by finishing Adesanya and taking on formidable challenges like Jan Blachowicz. Let's see how Pereira's skills and striking prowess fare in his upcoming bout. Moving on to the C tier, we have Josh Emmett. Now, let's be honest here. Emmett's recent loss to Ilia Topuria truly showcased his BMF side. Despite being brutalized for 5 rounds, he refused to give up on himself. In fact, one judge even scored a round 10-7 in favor of Ilia, highlighting the level of punishment Emmett endured. I must admit that while Emmett may not deserve to be ranked as highly as he is in the UFC, he's a perfect fit for the C-tier ranking on my list. One thing that cannot be denied is his willingness to fight anyone, regardless of the challenge. However, his ranking is affected by controversial decisions and his occasional delusion about his ability to win fights. Emmett's career has been marked by close calls and contentious outcomes. Although he may not always come out on the winning side, his tenacity and resilience make him an intriguing fighter to watch. While he may not reach the upper echelons of the UFC rankings, there is no denying his BMF spirit and his willingness to go toe-to-toe with anyone inside the octagon. Moving on to the D tier, we have Dan Ige. Let me tell you, this guy is a straight-up G. He has stepped into the octagon with some absolute killers, including the likes of Josh Emmett, Edson Barboza, Nate Landwehr, and Calvin Kattar. And guess what? He never backs down from a challenge. Dan Ige's willingness to face formidable opponents and his unwavering determination earn him a solid place in the D tier. He's proven time and time again that he's not afraid to throw down with the best in the business. It takes a special kind of fighter to go toe-to-toe with those high-level opponents, and Ige has certainly left his mark in some memorable battles. While he may not have reached the upper echelons of the UFC rankings just yet, his fearlessness and resilience make him a force to be reckoned with in the D tier. Next up in the A tier, we have Petr Yan, a former bantamweight champion known for his crisp and devastating boxing skills. When Petr Yan steps into the octagon, his striking is a thing of beauty, leaving fans in awe of his technique and precision. Now, let's tackle the glaring incident that shook the MMA world, Yan's notorious loss of the belt to Aljamain Sterling. In a moment of frustration, Petr decided to deliver a knee to Sterling's face when he was grounded. Some might call it breaking the rules, but you know what? Yan's response was pure BMF material. He simply thought, "Fuck this clown," and took his chance. Although it cost him the belt, you can't deny the audacity and rebellious spirit behind his actions. But that's not the only thing that defines Petr Yan. He has showcased his boxing prowess time and time again, unleashing devastating combinations with precision, power, and timing. His punches flow effortlessly, and when he connects, his opponents feel the impact. Despite his recent losing streak, which included fights against tough opponents like Sean O'Malley, Merab Dvalishvili, and Aljamain Sterling, Yan has proven his ability to go the distance and avoid being finished. It's a testament to his toughness, resilience, and refusal to back down. While his recent setbacks may have affected his win-loss record, Petr's ability to avoid being finished demonstrates his durability and unwavering spirit. Petr Yan unquestionably earns his well-deserved spot in the A tier. My second S tier pick is none other than Jon Jones. This man is the epitome of a true badass. Now, let's address some controversial aspects of his persona. It's no secret that Jones has been involved in numerous incidents that have tarnished his reputation. From his infamous exchange of death threats with Daniel Cormier to his troubling legal issues, including arrests for drink driving and reckless behavior that endangered innocent lives, there's no denying the dark side of his story. However, we're here to evaluate fighters based on their impact inside the octagon, and Jon Jones has undeniably left an indelible mark on the sport. He has faced and defeated every opponent placed before him, showcasing his incredible skills, athleticism, and dominance. One of the most unforgettable moments in Jones' career was the brutal 10-7 round against his wife, where he showed everyone that he's not just a fierce competitor in the cage, but also a force to be reckoned with at home. From notable battles against the likes of Rampage Jackson to his fearless act of chasing off robbers from his property with shotguns, Jones has demonstrated both his fighting prowess and his unwavering determination to protect what is his. Moreover, Jones has made unprecedented moves in his career, taking a 3-year hiatus and returning to the heavyweight division to face Cyril Gane for the heavyweight belt. His ability to conquer different weight classes and still emerge victorious speaks volumes about his versatility and raw talent. Now, let's be clear, I'm not condoning or glorifying his off-the-cage behavior. It's important to separate the fighter from the person and focus solely on his accomplishments in the MMA world. Jones has displayed a level of skill, strategy, and tenacity that sets him apart from his peers. Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Jon Jones has earned his place in the S tier of the baddest motherfuckers out there. His impact on the sport is undeniable, and his performances inside the octagon have solidified his position as one of the all-time greats. Next up in the D tier, we have the promising up-and-comer in the flyweight division, Mohammed Mokov. Now, let's be honest, his ranking may be a bit inflated based on his UFC accomplishments thus far. He hasn't faced the most formidable competition, which makes it challenging to position him higher on the list. However, one thing that cannot be denied is Mokov's toughness and resilience. In his last fight, he found himself in a precarious situation where his opponent nearly snapped his leg, but Mokov refused to tap out. That kind of grit and determination is admirable, showcasing his willingness to push through adversity. While he remains undefeated in the UFC, it's important to consider the level of opposition he has faced. The lackluster quality of his opponents prevents him from being ranked higher on this list. Nonetheless, Mokov has the potential to grow and prove himself against tougher adversaries in the future. As an up-and-comer in the flyweight division, Mohammed Mokov shows promise and has displayed glimpses of his potential. With more experience and higher caliber opponents, we may see him rise through the ranks and earn a more fitting place on this list. Another A-tier pick is Kamaru Usman. Now, while there may be debates about whether he belongs in the S tier, I personally have reservations due to his history of controversial actions like faking dick shots, grabbing onto the cage, and holding onto his opponent's gloves in fights. He has also been accused of taking performance-enhancing drugs, due to the simple fact Kamaru and his younger but much larger brother look as if they pour horse semen on their Weetabix. This being said, it will not discredit his placement on my list as they are only accusations. One of Usman's defining moments was his knockout victory over the inaugural BMF champion, Jorge Masvidal. With a single devastating straight punch, Usman proved his power and solidified his position as a force to be reckoned with in the division. Furthermore, if the rumored fight between Usman and the undefeated Khamzat, the rat-lip monster Chimaev, materializes, it will be yet another testament to Usman's willingness to take on any challenge. His fearlessness and determination in facing tough opponents cannot be questioned. While there may be criticisms regarding Usman's past actions, his undeniable skills, accomplishments, and willingness to compete against the best in the world make him a formidable presence in the A tier. Alright folks, get ready to be riled up because we're talking about Marlon Vera in the C tier. Now, before you start throwing punches, hear me out. Sure, the guy has a chin made of granite, and it seems like he's made of rubber with his incredible recovery skills. But let's be honest, his win streak was hyped up beyond belief. He did pull off that front kick that turned Frankie Edgar into a meme, and yeah, he knocked out an old Dominic Cruz. I'll give him credit for his win over Davy Grant, which has aged well. But besides those moments, let's not forget that he lost to Aldo, was getting outclassed by Frankie Edgar, and was on the losing end against Dominic Cruz before pulling a miraculous win out of his ass. So, why is he on this list? Well, it's more about his durability than his impressive accomplishments. And you know what? I'm starting to think I should drop him down to the D tier. Why, you ask? Because Sandhagen absolutely obliterated him, and I had the audacity to place Sandhagen at the C tier in my last tier list video. Yeah, it's definitely time for Vera to take a step down. Let's see how Vera bounces back from this and if he can prove me wrong. And at least we can always count on him for some entertaining memes. Next up on my baddest motherfucker tier list is the undefeated, Kazakhstan-born wrecking machine, Shavkat Rakhmonov. This guy is an absolute force to be reckoned with. I mean, seriously, he's finished every single fight he's ever been in, and that's no small feat. Born and raised in Kazakhstan, you know this dude was forged in the fires of true warrior spirit. His upcoming fight with Kelvin Gastelum, a proven member of my previous list placed in the A tier, could be his ticket to joining the ranks of the elite. But for now, he finds himself in the B tier. What sets Rakhmonov apart is his ability to take punishment like a beast. The dude has got an iron chin that can absorb shots that would put most fighters to sleep. It's like he's got a built-in titanium helmet protecting his dome. When you look at his wins, it's clear that he's taken on and defeated some top contenders in the welterweight division. This guy doesn't fuck around. He's proven himself against the best, as shown in his last fight against Jeff Neal, choking him out on the feet like a little bitch. So, keep an eye on Shavkat Rakhmonov. Next up in the C tier, we have the durable and tenacious Vicente Luque. This guy has been involved in some absolute wars inside the octagon, proving time and time again that he's not one to be taken lightly. While his win streak may not be the most impressive, there are some notable victories on his record that deserve recognition. Luque has showcased his skills by defeating tough opponents like Tyron Woodley, Randy Brown, and Michael Chiesa. He's known for his aggressive style and relentless pressure, always pushing the pace and looking for the finish. One of his most memorable wins was against Nico Price, where he displayed his striking prowess and resilience in a thrilling battle. Now, Luque's upcoming fight is rumored to be against the formidable Rafael dos Anjos, an A-tier pick from my previous list. If Luque can come out on top in this matchup, it would undoubtedly elevate his standing in the division and potentially open doors for higher placements in the future. So, let's keep an eye on Vicente Luque as he continues to test his mettle against top-tier competition and prove why he's a force to be reckoned with in the welterweight division. Next up in the A-tier, we have the one and only Tony Ferguson. Now, it's true that Tony has been experiencing a decline in his recent performances, but his legacy and warrior mentality cannot be overlooked. This man is known for his willingness to step up and fight anyone, regardless of the circumstances. A prime example of his fearless nature was when he stepped in as a last-minute replacement to face Nate Diaz after Khamzat Chimaev missed weight. It takes a special kind of fighter to accept a fight on short notice against someone as tough as Nate Diaz. Tony proved once again that he's a true bad motherfucker who doesn't back down from a challenge. Sure, Tony may not be the same fighter he once was, but his past accomplishments and the spirit he brings to every fight deserve respect. To place him any lower on this list would be an insult to his remarkable legacy. Let's remember Tony Ferguson for the incredible battles he's given us and the indomitable spirit he embodies inside the octagon. Next up in the D tier, we have Bryan Barberena. This guy has a reputation for being a true warrior inside the octagon. He's willing to step up and fight anyone, no matter how tough the challenge may be. However, his inconsistency in winning multiple fights in a row makes it difficult to place him higher on this list. It's worth noting that Bryan has faced a who's who of opponents throughout his career. He's shared the cage with notable fighters like Colby Covington, Robbie Lawler, and Rafael dos Anjos, showcasing his willingness to take on top-level competition. But perhaps one of his most memorable moments came when he submitted the MMA legend himself, the one and only Super Sage Northcutt. It's not every day you see an underdog pull off such an impressive victory. Despite his notable victories and the tough challenges he's faced, Bryan's inability to string together consistent wins keeps him in the D tier. Nevertheless, his fearless attitude and willingness to go toe-to-toe with anyone deserve recognition. Bryan Barberena may not be at the top of the rankings, but he's earned his spot among the baddest motherfuckers in the MMA world. Next up in the C tier, we have Jingliang, a fighter known for his fearlessness and willingness to take on any challenge. Jingliang has proven time and again that he's not one to back down from a fight. Just look at his decision to step up and face Khamzat Chimaev despite the inevitable outcome. Unfortunately, he ended up being overpowered, lifted like a child, dumped on his head, and ultimately submitted. It was a tough loss, but it showcased Jingliang's courage and willingness to face formidable opponents. Now, let's talk about Jingliang's fashion sense. This man knows how to make a statement, especially with his famous suit. He purchased the suit for his first press conference, but it's unfortunate that the event got canceled due to heated backstage altercations between Khamzat's team and Nate Diaz's crew. The entire MMA world felt truly sorry for Jingliang, who was left with a suit he couldn't showcase as planned. Despite this setback, Jingliang always comes to fight and puts on great performances against almost everyone he faces, earning him a solid spot in the C tier of my BMF list. Speaking of Khamzat Chimaev, he's the next entry on the list, right alongside his undefeated counterpart Shavkat Rakhmonov. While some may argue that Chimaev deserves a higher placement, there are certain criteria that need to be met to be considered for the A tier. One such requirement is fighting for a championship title, which Chimaev hasn't done yet. Nonetheless, there's no denying that he's an unstoppable killing machine inside the octagon. Chimaev's wrestling skills are truly something to behold. His explosiveness and ferocity are unmatched, as he effortlessly ragdolls fully grown athletes as if they were merely cheap hookers. His run in the UFC has been nothing short of impressive, with Gilbert Burns being the only opponent to take him the distance. However, Chimaev's inactivity and constant chatter on Twitter about potential fights have hindered his progress. As a result, I can't place him higher than the B tier at this time. Chimaev's potential is undeniable, and if he continues to display his dominant performances and secures meaningful fights, he may very well climb the ranks in the future. But for now, the B tier is a fitting spot for this formidable force in the welterweight division. In the A tier, we have Robbie Lawler, a seasoned veteran whose resume is truly one of the greatest in UFC history. Despite his age, Lawler's past opponents include some of the most formidable fighters in the sport, such as Melvin Manhoef, Nick Diaz, and Jake Shields. He has also faced a plethora of other notable opponents, including Rory MacDonald, Colby Covington, Rafael dos Anjos, Brian Barberena, and Carlos Condit. Lawler's willingness to take on any challenge and his ability to deliver thrilling performances have earned him a special place in the hearts of MMA fans. As a fan myself, I'm hoping that Lawler can tap into that ruthless side once again and put on a memorable performance in his upcoming fight against Nico Price, which is rumored to be his last. Lawler's legacy is etched in the annals of the sport, and his resilience and fighting spirit continue to inspire both fans and fellow fighters. While he may be nearing the end of his career, his contributions to the sport and his unforgettable battles inside the octagon solidify his place in the A tier of my BMF list. In the C tier, we have Song Yadong, a talented bantamweight fighter who has shown his worth in the UFC. With notable wins over Marlon Vera and a recent unfortunate stoppage against Corey Sandhagen due to a cut, Yadong has proven himself as a formidable competitor in the division. Yadong's fighting style is always exciting to watch, and he brings a relentless approach to every bout. His ability to mix striking and grappling, combined with his determination and heart, make him a tough opponent for anyone in the bantamweight division. While Yadong's journey in the UFC is still unfolding, his victories and competitive performances solidify his place in the C tier of the BMF list. As he continues to develop his skills and face tougher challenges, we can expect to see more thrilling fights from this promising young fighter. In the A tier, we have the incredible force known as Yuri Prochazka. This man is an absolute unit inside the octagon and fights like a relentless Terminator. Despite having to relinquish his belt due to a severe shoulder injury, Prochazka is determined to make a comeback and reclaim what was once his. Prochazka's fighting style is a sight to behold. He brings an intense level of aggression, power, and unpredictability to his bouts, leaving his opponents in awe. His striking prowess, combined with his unyielding spirit, makes him a formidable force in the light heavyweight division. While some may favor his upcoming opponent, Jamal Hill, in their fight, it doesn't diminish Prochazka's standing in the A tier of this BMF list. His impressive skills, ferocious fighting style, and the impact he has made in the division warrant his position among the baddest motherfuckers in the sport. Moving down to the B tier, we have Aljamain Sterling, the current bantamweight champion. Now, some might find this placement controversial, considering his championship status. However, I cannot justify ranking him any higher on the list, primarily due to the nature in which he won the bantamweight belt. Yes, Sterling is technically the most accomplished bantamweight in UFC history, and if he manages to defeat Sean O'Malley on just 3 months' notice, he may earn a higher position in the future. However, it's impossible to overlook the controversies surrounding his title reign. Sterling has been known to take advantage of the rule set, and his victory to claim the belt was marred by criticism, as he won it in a manner that many perceive as unsatisfactory, or in other words, being a fucking pussy. It's understandable that such controversies affect his standing on this list. In fact, I must also mention that if Sterling were to face his friend and training partner, Merab Dvalishvili, in a fight, I personally believe that Merab would come out on top. This further adds to my decision of placing Sterling in the B tier. Without the support of his friendship with Merab, it's uncertain whether Sterling would even hold the title at this point. While this may be a contentious viewpoint, it reflects my perspective and analysis of Sterling's current standing among the baddest motherfuckers in the UFC. And now, let's move on to my final pick for the D tier, and that's none other than Rob Font. This guy is an absolute beast in the octagon, always ready to take on any challenge. And boy, did he silence the doubters in his last fight when he delivered a devastating knockout victory over the highly regarded Adrian Yanez. It's crystal clear that Font has been putting in the work, upgrading those hands from mere pillows to straight-up concrete. His punches have transformed into ferocious weapons, leaving his opponents stunned and out for the count. That knockout victory over Adrian Yanez was a testament to Font's devastating power and his commitment to becoming an absolute force in the bantamweight division. And now, let's dive into the fascinating case of Deiveson Figueiredo, the former champion who was once hailed as the ultimate unstoppable killing machine. While there's no denying his talent and the excitement he brings to the octagon, I have some reservations that landed him in the C tier of my list. You see, during the Moreno quadrilogy, Figueiredo's attitude didn't quite live up to his fighting prowess. He displayed a sense of entitlement, making demands and throwing tantrums like a sore loser. It left a sour taste in my mouth, to be honest. I mean, you can't just act like you own the world and expect everyone to cater to your whims. What's more, his decision-making has been rather erratic. First, he claimed he was moving up to bantamweight, only to backtrack and change his mind. It's like playing a game of chess with someone who keeps moving their pieces back and forth without any clear strategy. It's all a bit bullshitty if you ask me. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate Figueiredo's fighting skills and the excitement he brings to the cage, but that entitled attitude and lack of consistency warrant his placement in the C tier of my list. Let's move on to our final B tier pick, Ilia Topuria. Now, this guy is a force to be reckoned with in the featherweight division. He hasn't had a shot at the gold just yet, but mark my words, he's a massive prospect. I mean, did you see what he did to Josh Emmett? It was like watching Aragorn slaying an orc of Mordor, pure BMF shit. Topuria brings the heat with his incredible power, wrestling skills, and an undefeated record to boot. Now, I don't think he's quite ready to dethrone the reigning champion Alexander Volkanovski just yet, but in the future, I have no doubt he'll be wearing that gold around his waist. For now, he sits comfortably in the B tier alongside other undefeated contenders who are waiting for their shot at the title. The final entry in the S tier is none other than Leon Edwards. While he has often relied on decision victories, it was his incredible last-minute head kick knockout over Kamaru Usman that solidified his place on this list. Defeating Usman decisively in their rematch further proved his prowess. With Usman leading 3-1, Leon unleashed a head kick from hell, sending Usman crashing to the canvas. It was not only one of the coolest moments in UFC history, but also accompanied by one of the coldest lines ever uttered. This epic line added to the greatness of the knockout and showcased Leon's confidence and skill. Without a doubt, Leon Edwards deserves his place in the S tier. And that wraps up part 2 of my BMF tier list. I appreciate you all for sticking around, even though this video turned out longer than expected. If you skipped to the end, thanks for checking out how it all concluded. Remember to subscribe for more exciting tier lists and top-notch MMA content. See you in the next video.